Hey guys, come on in.
Hey guys, the education continues. We are on topic 4. We talked about income, we talked about debt and credit. Watch back at those videos. They're out there on IGTV and YouTube. But the next one that could hinder you or make the difference is down payment. There's no doubt about it. There's no way around it unless we're going to talk about one way around it, but it might still not be the right choice for you. You're going to want some skin in the game. You're going to want to put some money down to get what's called equity. That's the principal that you own on the home, principal left on the loan compared to what you took the loan out for. So you bought a house for $350. You put $10,000 down, or whatever the case may be, $12,500. Let's just say $10,000. You have the difference between $340 and $350. You have $10,000 of equity, and that's going to keep going down every month when you make a mortgage payment. But how do I get, and how much do I need to put down? So again, we talked about in the last video, 580 to 679. You're going to qualify for an FHA mortgage, which a lot of first-time home buyers do. So I got my little handy calculator here. Let's just go off of maybe an average price that I've seen a lot of first-time home buyers do. That's $200,000. Could be less, it could be more. It depends on if you're a couple or you're doing it all by yourself. Well, FHA mortgage is going to be 3.5% down. I don't know if you guys can see that, but that's $7,000. Kind of daunting. That's not the only thing, because we're going to talk about closing costs in the next one. But $7,000, you've hopefully been saving up. You've been watching our videos. You've just been Googling or doing education yourself, and you know your FHA, you're probably going to have to put 3.5% down. So let's say you've saved up $5,000, $3,500. Let's just use $3,500, half of it. So you are $3,500 short. That could be made up through a down payment assistance program. That could be made up through a gift. Say you have a grandparent, say you have a mother, father, whatever the case may be, an aunt, an uncle, a cousin that wants to help out. They can make up that difference. They can pay that whole down payment for you if you want them to or need them to. But they're willing to help you out with that other $3,500. That's one way. Down payment assistance. There's various programs. There's too much to get into in this particular video, but there's different criteria that might be able to help you with a down payment as well. And a lot of the big 4 counties in Fulton, Douglas, DeKalb, and Clayton, it may go away, but right now you could get up to $15,000 in down payment assistance. So hit us up about that and have the lender see if you qualify for that. But let's just say you've done it. You've done it. You've saved up to $7,000. That is really, really good, and that's really important. And now you can afford potentially a house $200,000 or less. Now let's talk about somebody that has a 680 or higher credit score. You're going to probably qualify for what's called a conventional mortgage. So with those, they can range 3%, 5%, 10%, depending on if you want to try to avoid private mortgage insurance. So let's just go with a $200,000 house. You've established you have good credit and it's above 680 or higher. 3% of 200,000 is $6,000. $6,000 already saves you $1,000 compared to if you went to an FHA. And sometimes you can also get gifted funds. It depends on a lot of different factors and if that lender allows it. But just right there, let's just look at that as an example. Say you went and you got a credit score, like I said, of 670. If you called the lender long enough in advance, maybe 3 months out, 4 months out, 6 months out, a year out, whatever the case may be, and they've told you exactly what to do through that credit analyzer to get that credit score up just 10 points, you've just saved yourself $1,000 for your down payment. So keep that in mind. In addition to that, you have a much, much better chance of getting a down payment assistance program at a 680 or 700 or 720, again, dependent on the ratios of income and households and all other kinds of factors. But you're going to get a much better interest rate, and you may or may not have to pay private mortgage insurance. Private mortgage insurance is whenever you have less than 20% down. So for my down payment people out there that have 20%, you're going to find it much more easier. You're going to find it that you're going to be able to avoid private mortgage insurance, which might save you $100, $200, $300, $500 a month in your mortgage payment. But a majority of us, unless you're a professional athlete, a celebrity, doctor, lawyer, you come from a different state like a California, New York, and you've made a huge profit or a very nice profit on your last house, most people, including ourselves, we're not able to put down 20% or more on that house. So we're going to fall into that bucket of either having to pay private mortgage insurance or not. And again, it's going to be tied to your credit score and all other kind of factors dependent on your PMI, private mortgage insurance, how much you're going to have to pay. And the final thing is 100% financing. We get that question a lot. Are there 100% financing programs? They are, and they're making their way back. Just general rules, you have to have a 680 or higher credit score. Income, it could be tied to income. I think for most of them, it's like under 120,000, 110,000 a year. And how it works is there's a 97% loan, which will be your first mortgage, and then a 4% second loan. And you're like, well, that's not 100%, that's 101%. So let's break down how that works. The 97% is going to be basically the mortgage you're taking out. Now, you still need to come up with that 3%. You're going to utilize, because of your good credit and your strong income, another 4% loan, 3% for your down payment, like we just talked about, 3% for a conventional. And then they're going to also give you another 1% to help with your closing costs. And closing costs we'll talk about in the next video, averages between 3 and 4%. So I like to say 3.5%. So if you get the seller or the builder to pay that, 2 to 3% of your closing costs, and you get in that other 1% that you're borrowing, you don't have to come to the table other, than your earnest money, which you'll get back at the closing table. The downside of that, and like I said, if that works for you, great, because that's more money you can utilize for your furniture, for your emergency fund, which we'll get into, other investments. So for some people, that works. And it's probably for somebody that plans on being in the house for a very long time to build up their equity. The downside with 100% financing is you're paying two mortgages, and typically it's a much higher interest rate. When if you had just come up with the 3% or the 3.5% down, and you could have gotten a 3.6% interest rate that I see a lot of people getting now, you may have to pay 5.5%, and you may have to pay 7 or 8% on that second mortgage. So yes, you're avoiding private mortgage insurance, and yes, you can use that to write off on your taxes. But personally, from experience, because markets, housing is expected to keep appreciating throughout the years. But if it comes down to a down market, you're not going to have any skin in the game to have any equity in that house, and you're going to be paying a higher interest rate. So that's how down payment works. $580 to $679, paying on 3.5%. All of it, a portion of it can be gifted. Save up for that. That should be your goal. $680 or higher, a conventional mortgage, 3%. You can do 5% loans, maybe a 10%. And some of those, depending if you're a doctor or a certain profession, you might be able to avoid PMI, but count on having to pay PMI. The goal is always for somebody that is a high income person to have that 20% or from a sale of another property. And then finally that 97 and 4% loan for 101% financing. So hopefully that breaks it down for you, something to shoot for, something to consider when you're looking at your numbers. Next topic is closing costs. A big one that people forget about and don't really understand. So stay tuned for that one. And I look forward to breaking that down for you. Talk to you guys soon.